Here we go.
Anything
All
to be?
right. Oh,
Yes,
wait a
sir.
minute. Preparing. Okay, here we go. Good evening and welcome to Showtime TV. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. This is a special program, part 2 of Growing Up in the Inner City. Right now I have 3 distinguished guests and I got 2 more supposed to be coming in later on this evening. So we're gonna go ahead and start. I have journalist Rachelle Wilson. We have Denise Rodriguez, Miguel Feliciano. They are no strangers to my show. They've been on my show numerous times. Good evening, everybody. Happy New
Yes,
Year.
yes.
Hey,
Hey,
Omar,
good
happy
evening.
New
Happy
Year.
Year.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to start off with just have everyone introduce themselves and just say what part of the inner city did you grow up, whether it be Wilmington, Philadelphia, New York, whatever. It was the north, south, Riverside, Southbridge, west side, east side, all that good stuff. So just let us know where we go. So we're going to start off with Miguel Feliciano.
Yes, sir. Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Miguel Feliciano, as Omar said. I was just sharing with with the ladies that I was born and raised here in Wilmington, Delaware, on the north side. That's if some people who may not be familiar with the north side, that's like from Market Street Bridge up to about 40th Street, Lee Boulevard. That's what they consider the north side. And up there near PS, Madison Street, all that's considered the north side. And, born and raised, been there ever since. I travel a lot, but never really lived in any other state or city for long periods of time. So Wilmington, Delaware has been my home, and so far it continues to be. So that's in brief.
Okay. All right. Denise.
Hi, so my name is Denise Rodriguez. So as a young child, we moved from Harmony Hills in Newark to the west side in Wilmington. My dad owned a few different corner stores throughout the west side, and I think he owned one on the north side as well. So I moved into Wilmington probably by the age of like 10 and grew up there most of my life, pretty much.
Okay, and Rachelle.
Short story, I'm a transplant from the city of Philadelphia. Grew up in South Philly and then Southwest Philadelphia on 52nd and Broad. And, really tough part of town. And I was so ornery that my mother moved me here when I was 16 years old. So I did the rest of my growing up here in the city of Wilmington, right here on the north side, Concord Ave.
Okay, and just like I did, just like I did in part 1, we talked about how the community has changed, over the years, back in the 80s and 90s, and maybe those go a little further back. You could open your doors, you knew your neighbors, you knew your community stood together. North side versus Riverside, Riverside versus East Side, East Side versus Southbridge. At least here in the city of Wilmington, it was togetherness. Today, I was about to say this is a big difference. I can't really say everybody knows their neighbors. It's just not the same community as it was. So for you three, we'll start off with Rachelle. Well, let me ask you, because I don't want to assume. Do you think we're still a village? That's the question I want to ask all 3 of you. And if so, if not, then what happened? When did we lose that sense of community?
I think that the village is holding on by the hair of its chinny chin chin because of the elders that are still with us in the communities. But I do believe that it is the children that perhaps my age, my generation gave birth to. Somewhere we missed passing the baton. You better not leave your doors unlocked or open at night anymore in the city. You can't even borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbors unless they're old school. So it's very unfortunate. It's very sad. And our young people are growing up without having that sense of the village. Obviously most of us, we know when the street lights came on, you better get home. And if you mess with Miss Brown 3 blocks away, you were going to get a spanking from Miss Brown, Miss Jones, and then another one when you got home. Nowadays, it seems that our adults are afraid to discipline their own children, much less discipline a young person in the streets doing something inappropriate.
Wow, yeah, that's so true. Denise?
Absolutely. I think that there are people that still want to have that custom of, you know, the village, but it has been lost. We have failed to pass the baton. I do recall as a young child that whenever I did something wrong, as Roz was saying, 3 blocks away, by the time I got home, my parents knew about it. And it was okay. It was okay to go knock on a parent's door and say, hey, your son was misbehaving down the street. And there was a dialogue, and then there was consequences. You know, we held them they held them accountable. But now if you knock on somebody's door, you'd be lucky that they don't pull a gun on you. And it's sad. And I do miss that. I was a single mom raising my children, but I was kind of the block mom. So I had a lot of the kids and you know, at my home. And I remember there were times when I'd wake up and there'd be kids sleeping on my couch and there was no communication with the parents. Like, you know, for me, I had to know you. I had to knock on your door. I asked you questions like, do you have fire alarms? Like, you know, I needed to know things. Nowadays, it's just like, it's almost natural for kids just to sleep outside the home without any supervision. So it's sad.
Yeah.
Okay, Miguel?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with both the ladies. Times has changed. And like Rachelle has said, you used to be able to ask your neighbor for a cup of sugar, borrow some milk, some eggs. You used to be able to do that. Nowadays, you really can't do that because the unity isn't there like it used to be, you know? And I don't want to say we didn't pass the baton, because I really think that we tried, we've tried, but these kids nowadays, there's so much technology out there that it's really causing the distractions. That it's not like it used to be because of technology, and especially back in the day, you know, laws have changed. Like Rachelle said, our parents did more parenting than we did, and as we had kids for our generation, we had child abuse laws that were enacted in the 80s and 90s, to whereas they basically stopped us from beating our kids and disciplining them. You know, I think my generation was the last generation to get butt whippings, you know what I'm saying, where it was okay for the community to whip your butt and you know what I'm saying, and then go back home and get your butt whipped because it was accepted. Nowadays, everybody trying to abuse. The law is always interfering with raising your child. Kids that really became a little more out of hand. Like I said, I think we do the best we can to try to pass the baton on, but the fabric of the community, and like I say, it's sad to say that it's not like it used to be in the 80s, 90s, in the early 2000s. You know, nowadays, everybody has developed what they call individualism. I'm just worried about me and my family. I ain't worried about nobody else. Before, everybody hugged the block. Everybody knew each other. And Omar, I'm sure you know, we grew up as neighbors. And you know, Miss Linda across the street, Mr. Woolley across the street. Your mom is Gloria. My mom, you know, we everybody was tight in the community. Where if I was locked out my house, I know I can go to my neighbor's house and stay there for an hour or two until mom get home. Nowadays, you can't even do that because anything, the parents might not even want the kids in somebody's house because they don't know what's going on. You know, so it has changed, and I hope that, you know, one day we can hopefully get back to it.
Well, let me ask the three of you. Where you resided now, do you know your neighbors? Because for me personally, I know the one on my left, I know the one on my right, and I know one that's next to the neighbor on my left. But outside of that, if I was at Home Depot or ShopRite or Acme, and if I seen them, some of the other neighbors, more than likely I probably would know who they are.
Yeah. It's the same thing. I left Wilmington probably about a few years ago. I kind of be out mostly Newark. My family's mostly still in Wilmington, so I do spend a lot of time. But even out in Newark where I'm at, I don't even know my neighbors. You know, and Wilmington, as a child, I knew the whole block, 2-3 blocks down. You know, and as an adult, I moved over to Market Street as an adult, and I barely knew my neighbors. I knew my neighbors on the immediate neighbors on the right and left, but didn't even know their names. I just knew them high and by, and that was it.
Right. Okay.
So as for me, I moved into, I live in Newcastle, and I moved into I'm in the same house that I was 23 years ago. 23 years ago, I knew my neighbors. I would go have coffee with my neighbors, but I think I'm probably one of the original on the block, like everybody else is new. I don't know anybody on my block anymore like I used to. And I do miss that. I miss having that, you know, in the morning I could go across the street and have a cup of coffee. And it's just, you know, things have changed. There's this, the atmosphere is not the same.
Right. Hey, Rachelle.
Yeah, I because this is the house or the neighborhood that my mother brought me to change my shenanigan type of ways. I kind of grew up on this block. And so the people, they're now my elders, but they knew me as a young 16 and 17-year-old young lady ripping and running around. And a lot of them, I thank God, they are still alive. Some of them have crossed over, but a lot of them are still alive. So on the block or the radius that I live in, we still have a lot of the original elders that I grew up with. So my respect for them is tremendous. And they pretty much know me by name, you know, they see me grow up. And it's really interesting, if I can just say this, the same elders who are now in their 80s or whatever, they saw me at 16 and you know, 17 years old growing up. They see me now at, you know, I'm almost 60 myself, and they're very, very pleased that I made it, that I lived to be this, you know, this age, and that I've succeeded this long. Nowadays, if our kids live to see 25, that's a reason for celebration.
Absolutely.
Right. You know, Rachelle and Denise, I want to ask you two in particular. You both mentioned you are single mothers living in a city. Have either one of you two feared for the safety of your sons? We'll start off with Denise and then Rachelle.
So I didn't raise my kids in the city. At an
Okay.
early age, I moved into Newcastle after my husband had passed. I moved to Newcastle from Ellesmere, but I still fear. And you know, my kids are all adults, and I still worry about them, and I still always guide them. And, you know, I'm still mom. It doesn't matter. I have talks with them, you know, when they go out, and they go out to, you know, not now because of COVID, but when they used to hang out and stuff with their friends, you know, you still have that fear. And my kids, you know, they're biracial. My kids are, you know, Hispanic and Caucasian or whatever. And so it's kind of hard, especially when they go hang out in Wilmington. It's like, I'm constantly telling them, like, things are not the same. Like when I grew up, you have to be careful. Like, you know, I talk to them about how to interact with police officers. I talk to them on how to, you know, react in situations, because I never had to have that talk when I was growing up. You know, if a police officer said my name, I knew I had to, you know, be respectful, and I didn't have that fear. Now, if a police officer pulls you over, you have to, you know, kids nowadays have to be fearful, and it's a shame, you know, because of all this, you know, situations. But again, my kids are adults, and I still worry about them.
Right. Okay, Rachelle.
I think you already know the answer to that. I mean, honestly, you know, again, because this is the block that I was raised on. I left, went away for 10 years, came back, and then I had a son who was also raised on this very same block. Some of the same elders that saw me grow up saw my son as well grow up. And for some reason, the universe just has a sense of humor. I wanted 3 boys. I always dreamt of having 3 sons, but God put all of that in one. So only have 1 child, 1 son. And yes, fear was my middle name, you know, as my child grew up and began to smell his underarms. And in the city, there are a lot of things that can pull you away from your foundation, your teaching, you know, the way that my mother and myself raised Justin. You know, it just, the streets pulled him in a whole different direction. And I guess it was more fascinating or interesting when you're 15 and 16, the streets are fascinating. And so he began to associate in that lifestyle, and it was a battle. I don't know if I was more afraid of him being killed in the streets as a result of shenanigans, or if I was going to kill him because of his disobedience. Be in the streets with the shenanigans.
Mhm.
Right. Right. And Miguel, like I said, as you mentioned earlier, you and I, we live right next door to each other on 25th and Carter. And so we both, at some point, I mean, our fathers was there, but at some point we both were living for mothers who were single mothers. And I know my mom, she was very imperative that I'll be in the house before dark. She didn't want me
Oh
out
yeah, I remember those days.
there. So, in terms of your mother being a single mother with you and your two brothers, did she ever express fear of your safety and your brother's safety living in the city?
You I could say my mom definitely, like all mothers, they definitely worried. But times were different back when I was coming up. When I was a child, we had that community, that community impact. So even though she worried, she didn't worry as much as like now. I got a teenage son, and I worry about him more probably than my mom worried about me then because of the difference in the community. But mom always worried about us, but she knew that everybody on the block, and we didn't go too far. We would go down Price's Park, play football, go down 8 Court, play basketball, and come back up. So everybody from my house down to the park knew my mom. So mom was like, okay, everybody they know that y'all my kids, and my dad was pretty popular too. So they knew who our parents were. So even though she was scared, she still had more of a sense of security that it's somebody out here watching over us.
Right,
And the other kids that we hung around, my mom knew their parents as well because everybody went to the same school. We went to Dolly Road, went to Burnett or Harlan, so mom always had to worry. But I just think that back then coming up with kids, she didn't have to worry as much. Now, in the 2000s and 2010s, it's different. Wilmington is so different that parents now they have to worry because it's more people, more different ways, to get killed. You got the cops, you got people shooting each other. Gun violence has increased in the city. You know what I'm saying? So much from the 80s and 90s, it seems like the crime level and violent crimes keep increasing. So, and as long as the crime rate keep increasing, parents is going to continue to worry and continue to, have fear for their children.
Right. So we just got another special guest, well known in the city of Wilmington. He's an author. He's a radio host. We got AKA Big Deezy, Thomas. Thomas, good evening. Welcome to the program, brother. How you doing? Can you hear me? Is audio together?
No, that is not Big Deezy. Where are you, Big Deezy? Come on in here.
Okay, well, Thomas, he's got to get his audio together. But I want to go back to Rachelle. You have a movement, Make Some Intelligent Noise, about the prison situation. And one of the questions I'm going to ask, if for generation, all the generations that we all grew up with, it seemed like African American men and Hispanic men that just overfill the prison system. The prisons. My goodness. The Young's Correctional, Smyrna, Georgetown, at least here in Delaware. They've been overcrowded with so many African American men and African American and Hispanic men. But your organization, once you talk to that a little bit about how that got started and what are you doing currently in terms of helping the brothers in the prison system?
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to stand on my platform, Showtime. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So I started a movement as a professional mother. I became an advocate. I've had 30 years of journalism experience. And when my son was taken into custody of the Delaware Department of Corrections for getting involved in the shenanigans, when I picked my heart up off the floor from the devastation of it all, I started a movement because something didn't set right with me. I couldn't understand, Showtime, how do you rob a liquor store and get 25 years? How does that happen? And so I began to study the law. And when I understood the racial disparities of our Black and brown and golden men, in comparison to our porcelain brothers, it didn't make sense and it really got under my skin. So to advocate for my son, my son Justin then led me in one sentence to advocate for all incarcerated loved ones, he said, Mom, you know, you have to stand up for them as well, because some of them don't have you as a mom. So you got to advocate for all of them. And so my movement changed from just advocating for Justin to now I advocate for all of them. And it's for humanitarian decency and humane treatment of our incarcerated loved ones. Just because they've made a faux pas and had a bump in the road, that's not necessarily who they are as an individual. And it should define them. So still treat them like human beings with courtesy and respect. And what I have going on now, 3 years into this movement, is I built relationships, Omar. I have built relationships with our public servants, our elected officials. And so House Representative Melissa Minor Brown has written a bill, House Bill number 37. I am pushing that. And I would ask all of your audience and your co-guests to please push House Bill number 37. It decarcerates if you have 1 year or less during a pandemic or epidemic, 1 year or less, get them out, get them on home confinement, create some social distancing and some space so that neither the incarcerated loved ones or the employees for the Delaware Department of Correction are overwhelmed with whatever it is. In this case, it's COVID, but we don't know what the future will bring. So it's a bill to help to decarcerate in order to save lives and humanitize our incarcerated loved ones.
Right. I think
Absolutely.
I think Timeless Thomas is having some audio issues. He's trying to work on
I
his
just wanted to
audio.
comment
Okay,
really
okay,
quick.
sure,
So,
go ahead.
I worked in the prison system over 20 years before I moved over to what I'm doing now. And I worked in Gander Hill for long periods of time, and I worked at Chester State Prison for 5 years, whatever. And I saw the treatment of the offenders and how they were mistreated inside the prison system. And a lot of times these were like short timers that would wind up getting longer sentences. But I was able to witness a lot of things that were so unsettling. And one of the things that I used to always stress is when a person commits the crime, their punishment is to be removed from society. Once they go to jail, you don't have to continue punishing them. That's where they should be rehabilitating and trying to get their lives in order. And it was very, like I said, disheartening watching how offenders were treated inside the prison system instead of them being concerned with trying to find avenues so that, when they were released back into society, that they would have a better opportunity. And I believe that, we need to have programs like this that would help people inside the prison system, especially when you don't have a support system, when you don't have somebody at home that can make phone calls for you. And, and I do that for individuals, on my own, but, to find out that there's, organizations out there trying to help offenders is awesome. I think, and I definitely would like to get more information about that.
Yes, Denise, join the movement.
You already know.
Miguel, there are those who would say, well, he grew up with a single mother. His father wasn't home. He didn't have a man to teach him how to be a man. So as a result, caused him to be in prison because his father wasn't there. And, we grew up, we had, unfortunately, too many brothers who we grew up with that ended up in the prison system. So do you blame brothers not having a father as one of the reasons why so many of our men, Hispanic men and African-American men are in prison?
Well, both parents are essential in life. For I believe either a male or female to be well-rounded, you need to have both parents, to make it, they said, to give you an easier life. However, I really feel like, for us, for the young men out there, it's very important to have a father in their life. And I can't say for certain that is a reason for mass incarceration or incarceration of our Black and brown men. I just feel like, it's a factor. It definitely is a factor that the father wasn't around. I know one thing that I pride myself on is being a father to my sons and making sure that, you know, I'm there for them more than what my father was there for me. You know, my father passed away, rest in peace. But I always made it a deal, like, you know, I gotta do better than what my father did for me. I gotta be there more for my sons, you know. So, and like, you know, I believe that if fathers was around more often and they was, and it's sad that in our community, in the Black community, that there's a lot of single parents, single fathers, single mothers. And I believe that, you know, the incarceration, the system, and what Rachelle was saying about the disparities in racism and the systemic racism in our judicial system, in our prison system, a lot of Black men are in jail, which their fathers being taken away from their kids. You know, and if our prison system wasn't the way it is, then we probably would have more fathers out on, you know what I'm saying, helping out and being a part of the family, you know. So it does have an impact.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to
No problem.
dovetail in absolute and total agreement with you. It is absolutely relative that we have fathers and mothers raise children, because that's the way it was intended by divine creation. Mothers and fathers raise babies, right? But when you have a system that is extracting fathers from the household, putting them into prison for profit, then you have young boys growing up without dads, and the streets are teaching them how to be a man. I want to say this and then I'll get quiet. One of the things that my son said to me in our Zoom, not Zoom, our tablet conversation a couple of nights ago, he said, "Mom, you know, I'm really working on, you know, my rehabilitation. I've got a little job as a tier man." He said, "But it's interesting that, you know, everyone wants me to come home and be a man." He said, "I've spent 11 years since age 22. I've been in 21. They grabbed my son up at age 21. So for 21, he has been raised to be whatever the prison for profit has raised him to be, the institutionalization." And I really thought that was like, that broke my heart. You know, everyone wants me to come home and be a man. And yet I know no one ever taught me how to be a man. That broke my heart. So my son will come home as soon as I can get him home. At this moment, as that we're talking, he's 34 years old now. They've had him since he was 20, 21 and a half, 22 years old. So when he comes home at age 34 or 35, who's going to teach him how to be a man? How's he supposed to know how to do that so that he doesn't recidivate? Now, he has a support system, but you know, who's going to teach him how to be a man?
Definitely.
Absolutely. I just wanted to comment about what Miguel has said about not having a father in the household being a factor. And I believe it is, you know, working at Chester State Prison, my whole pod, I was an institutional counselor, and my whole pod was gang related offenses. They, you know, there was a mixture of Nietas, Latin Kings, Bloods, Crips, everything on one pod. And in having conversations with them, a lot of them took to the streets at a young age because they didn't have the direction at home. They didn't have, you know, they couldn't find that father figure in the home. So where would they go find that father figure? They would find it in the streets, in the gangs, because the gangs promised, you know, a family atmosphere, but there was a cost to that, you know. And just you know, I had a lot of trouble with my kids growing up, and you know, I sat in courtrooms, and you know, I wrote letters to judges trying to you know, get the judge to be lenient as far as sentencing with my kids. And you know, thank God that none of them have really done any jail time, but you know, the fear, you know, a year or 2 years trying to fight a court battle and at the same time trying to go on with your life, it was very stressful. And you know, they've been blessed. They paid their consequences. They've done the probation and that kind of thing. But you know, I truly believe that they were looking for something out in the streets that they didn't have at home, you know. And you know, I think it is a big factor not having two parents in a household raising your children.
Definitely. I want to highlight some of the positive things that we all pretty much grew up in the community, and that and two festivals that were really excellent was the Hanif African Festival and Parade. Man, that was just so awesome. And we also had and unfortunately we don't have it anymore. We haven't had it for quite some time. But then you also have the Hispanic Festival. Denise, I know you worked on that. Takes place at the West Side.
Yep.
So if anyone wants to talk about those two particular festivals, or what type of activities did you enjoy? I guess here in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. We can start off with. Well, anybody wants to start off.
Yeah, I'll start off. So I really look forward to the Hispanic Festival every year. I remember that we had Hispanic Month, and it lasted all month long with different activities. I remember a long time ago where Mayor C.I. Williams was, they had a carnival down there. I don't know if you remember the St. Paul's Carnival, the parade. I won't tell you what year because that's going to say my age. But when I was 15, a couple of years ago, I was the Hispanic queen. And I remember that experience. So I was probably the first and only Hispanic queen that got her title breakdancing and popping. So yeah, trust and believe that was a long time ago. But anyway, those experiences, being able to be a part of the parade, being part of the ball that they had at the end of the month or whatever, and then continuing with that by participating and helping at the parade and those kinds of things. And as the years went by, like it kind of dwindled. We used to have like 20 floats coming down 4th Street. I don't know if you remember, Miguel or Omar.
Yeah,
We had like 20 floats coming down
wow.
4th Street. We had the car shows, the Toyota Club.
Yeah.
We even had horses because I remember my uncle from Violin, New Jersey came and brought horses. And then it was like, I remember maybe the last parade I went to like 3 years ago, I think there was like 2 floats, but it still, had that atmosphere, the music, the food, the culture, and that's definitely one of the positive things that I look forward to growing up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And anyone else?
I want to talk about the African Festival. Oh man, the African Festival used to be the bomb. I remember they have over East Side, right off of over the bridge,
Right.
11th Street.
Right. Yeah,
Oh, the East Side part. Yeah, that
East Side
I
Steppers.
remember. Yeah, oh my goodness. Back then, the food was good. I used to enjoy it, and I was so mad that they stopped it. I used to look forward to it every year. One of the things that was, I guess, exclusive though to the North Side. I remember when I was a teenager, down at Price's Park, 8 Court, they had the park parties. You know what I'm saying? Where the DJ would come in. And it'd be like, it was every Friday and Saturday. I think they had on the weekends where the DJ would come down. They'd have the pool party at Price's Pool, and they'd have the park where you'd be dancing and stuff at 8 Court. So they'd have little dance contests. And I thought that was something real good that the city did for the youth, because it gave them something to do versus just being out in the street. It was security there. They had parent chaperones. They had police there. But we had the pool parties. Price's Park. We had the dance contest at 8 Court where they had the DJs coming down from Chester. We did have the basketball tournaments down there as well. So those were good things that I used to look forward to as a youngster, is going to the park and dancing, playing basketball, but also like the African Festival, all the vendors and the Cultural Arts Center played a good part because they had the African dance and the drummers there.
Right.
So that was something. Yeah, Rachelle remember that when we did the African dance and all the drumming.
Yeah.
In my youth, I was one of those African dancers, and yes,
I remember it. He was good, very good dancer.
Latin American as well as the African American parades come back. One of the problems I believe that we're having with our children, obviously, some of them have mental disorders if their parents were doing drugs at the time or alcohol at the time of their pregnancy, then that has caused some sort of a mental and emotional connect. We know some of our children, our youth, they have attention deficit disorders and things like that. But I think not having a recreational place to go, a safe place to go to play basketball, to do east side stepping, or whatever it is that young people do today. We know a lot of it is technology, but that is one of the reasons that we are having so much inner city violence, urban violence. When you have children, young people who are underdeveloped mentally, and they don't know where to go, they're tired of being in the house with the COVID and all of this other stuff. What do? You step on my shoe, I want to shoot you. And it's very unfortunate.
Yes.
Right. So let me ask you, we talked a good number deal in regards to the violence that's taking place. At some point when you were all residing in Wilmington, well, some of you, I know Rachelle, you still reside in the city of Wilmington. Did you ever say to yourself, with all this violence and going on, disruption going on, I got to leave the city of Wilmington? Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. Did you ever say that to yourself?
I didn't get to hear the question because it cut off.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to repeat. We talked about a great deal about the violence that's taking place in the city of Wilmington. Have any one of you ever came to the conclusion that you said to yourself, I gotta leave out the city of Wilmington. I gotta move. I gotta go to Newcastle. I gotta go to Newark. I gotta go to Middletown. I gotta get out of the state of Delaware.
Well, actually, for me, I mean, and you said keep it 100. I probably was part of the problem when I was younger. So my mom might be watching. So my mom, she knows. I was into, fighting on the block, and we met at H Street Park to handle things. I mean, things were a little different. If you said you were going to fight at H Street Park, it was just a fight. But so I was kind of a problem growing up. But definitely things changed when I became a mom. And I said, you know what? I do not want to raise my kids in the city. And I set that goal when my kids were very young. And I moved out of the city because I really just didn't want my kids to be exposed to that.
Okay, wait. Hey, Big D's, are you on? Thomas? Are you good? Are you good?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we
welcome, man. We got you, man.
Finally.
That's right. Okay.
Technology, boy, I tell you, that was rough. That was a whole wrestling match with an act. With an act.
Well, we're glad that you're here this evening, brother, and welcome to the program.
I'm glad to be here, and I mean that. I'm just going to get caught up. I'm trying to see where y'all are at now.
Okay, well, I started the program. If you could allow people know what part of the city were you raised in, let's deal with that first.
I was raised in Wilmington, on the north side, up near 30th Street Park. I don't know if you guys know where that's at, 30th and Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course that trickled down to North Market Street and all of that. So I'm 49 years old. So I was there during the Reagan era and all of that.
Okay. Now, one of the questions that I also asked was, we talked about a little bit about the village, like back in the 80s and the 90s, and prior to that, you knew your neighbors, you could leave your doors open. It was a community. So I was asking everybody, if you compare those times to today, what happened to the village? From your standpoint, it's like we don't know our neighbors anymore. We don't stick together like we used to. I was just asking everybody to give their fair share of why do you think that?
In my opinion, I'm a real technical person. Like I go to the core of the issues.
Right.
What happened to the village? It was a genocide. Our structure, our men got extracted from the community either through chemical warfare, meaning drugs and stuff like that, or through, the criminal justice system, get them locked up and everything like that. And then also either dying in the streets. And so what that did was take the men out the household. So there's the structure. And it left the women pretty much to fend for themselves, and then they're raising children by themselves, and it just became a harder neighborhood because the kids were forced to be young adults even when they weren't mentally ready. So the good neighborly thing with it it evolved into something more brutal. It evolved into something more serious than that. That's just my assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that we talked about also was a number of, I mean, so like each generation, there's a high number of African American men and Hispanic men that's in prison. And it was like, oh man, people we grew up with and they're in prison. People that our parents grew up was in prison. People, our grandparents. I mean, so we're just trying to figure out what is the direct correlation that results in why so many African American men and Hispanic men end up in prison. But you also wrote a book, it's 21 things you should know about prison. So we can talk about that a little bit and promote your book.
Well, the book is called 101 Things You Should Know About Jail.
Yeah.
With a bonus, with a bonus chapter of 50 questions that you should ask anyone returning from prison. And I actually did 13 years myself before I actually got it right. And the reason I wrote this book is it's redemption, man. It's prison reform. It's for everybody because everybody is one mistake away from being incarcerated. Everybody's one accusal, one false, somebody lied. Everybody is just one misunderstanding away from jail. And in that misunderstanding, you could just end up being somebody's cellmate who maybe has 17 years in all push-ups, just over a misunderstanding till you get it cleared up. So I wrote the book for the reader can go on the journey. I allow my reader to go on a journey to do a 3 to 5 year sentence, to go all the way from the time of the crime to the back of the cop car, through the court system, through the county part of the jail, through the penitentiary, which is the state part of the system, all the way home on probation and parole, and then the transition after that of the things that you should ask this person that comes home, because there's a lot of things that you need to know, and the average person overlooks these things either for lack of knowledge or just because they're not even really concerned, or because they're too busy in life to stop their life and try to identify with someone's shortcomings. So the book is real deep. It's real deep. Everybody who's read it, I got a real good review on it. It's the beginning of it. I had to wait because I kind of dropped it during the holidays. So I'm kind of glad that the holidays are over, because I'm pushing it now to organizations. I'm pushing it to the facilitators of groups and children's jails and even adult prisons and all of the above. It's a great book. It's not a hood novel. It's a handbook. The book was published on Ware Publishing, which is actually a Christian publisher. Now, this brother don't publish just anything, but when he read the book, he said, yo, this is redemption, and I'll take it from here. So I got a little small book deal, and that's the least I can do for, because I'm a solutionalist. Right. I'm a person that I only want to hear about your problem maybe once, maybe twice. After that, we need to be talking about solutions.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at with it at this point in my life. I wasn't always like that, but I see what God has done for my life. He tapped me into my purpose in my wisdom years so that I can, really give a good contribution.
Excellent, excellent. One of the things that I have so much respect for you and Sister Rachelle is that both of you are radio hosts of probably the only African-American radio station in the city of Wilmington, owned by, facilitated by Mr. Harmon Carey. And one of the things about news when it comes to the African-American community, sometimes the media, a lot of times the media, they don't give us a good positive outcome when they cover news, particularly among African-Americans and Hispanic men in the city of Wilmington, Delaware, or in the city of Philadelphia, New York, anywhere. So I want you to talk about the significance of why it's so important that we have our own media so we can tell our own story. So let's start off with Rachelle.
Thank you so much once again, Showtime. And again, welcome, Big DZ, welcome. So someone by the name of Victor Cooper and Patrice Gibbs, they were doing it, and with journalism being my thing, like that's just my thing. I was teaching that at the high school that I was working at. And so when I saw that Victor Cooper was doing this radio, I said, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? And he said, this is your thing. So he put me on, introduced me to Harmon Carey, and we had a conversation, a dialogue. and I ended up being on the show. And so I guess I've been in there now for about a year. And I took a sabbatical, like a 2-week vacation. And I asked Big Deezy to cover one of my shows for me. And then the next thing I know, I come back and now he's got his own show. And I'm so proud of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really very proud. But I think that one of the things that really made me make the commitment to WHGE 95.3 FM is because we are the only Black-owned, Black-operated journalism information news network in the city of Wilmington, in the state of Delaware. And so for me, I love pioneering, and I'm much like, Timeless Thomas. I believe in bringing solutions to the table. I don't have a whole lot of time to listen to a whole bunch of problems. Let's talk about solutions, and having a platform and my own voice where people can tell me what's going on personally. And then I can actually talk about that on the radio, because maybe this is the only person that told me of the problem, but I know they're not the only person who's suffering from the same situation. So I can address that. And it's uncensored. No one is telling me what I can and cannot say. It's Black Information News Network, and I love it. So, and let me just say this. For me personally, I've had my ups and downs back and forth with Harmon Carey about some show ideas and some different things, but it's worth it. It's Black radio, and I love that.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Thomas.
Well, for me, the story is very similar. Vic, good brother, No Saroma, he's always been a positive role model to me. That's my old head in the community. We came up in the same community, and I try to follow in his footsteps when I can. And I didn't even know he put you on, Ra. But I had a podcast not too long ago. I tried to do the podcast thing, and I had Ra on there, and we had an electrifying energy. We were operating on a higher frequency. And so we kind of did a few things together. So when she asked me to fill in, I looked at that as an opportunity. I looked at that as because I'm a person, I'm an opportunist. I'm not gonna let an opportunity walk by, because I know an opportunity will not play, it's not gonna knock and stick at your door, it's gonna go. So if you're not in position, you could just very well miss it. So when she first asked me to do it, I already looked at it as this could be my calling. Because I'm always, if you ever follow me on Facebook or whatever, I'm very opinionated. I'm very vocal. I always, talk my talk, preach my gospel, my self-proclaimed gospel. But now the fact that it is the only Black, and Black also covers Latino, it covers people of color, it covers people of color, because there are some Caucasian people that are in the struggle as well. But yeah, it is African-American radio station. And I do have to give a mega shout out to the brother Harmon Carey. He's a good dude, and he understands the importance of the radio station, and he appreciates my new young energy. It's like I'm a spark off the bench. And I could never thank Ra enough for putting me on, because she could have very well been selfish. She could have just, did something else with that time off. Right. But, she passed the torch. And I'm gonna keep it lit because I'm fresh. I am younger, and I do have ideas, and I do have connections. I do plan on reaching out to Patty LaBelle, Shaquille O'Neal, different people to come to the city, to pull up on 9th Street so that they can see the limousines and all the big superstar stuff. And then the ones that can't make it, they can see it on the Zooms and the Instagram things. I'm gonna turn up. I'm gonna turn it up. I'm gonna show you what a radio station can do. So that's gonna be real good. That's gonna be real good for my followers. Because the platform is it could be endless. It could be infinite. This is our time to shine. The right information needs to go through there. It doesn't need to be frivolous. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity.
Miguel, a little while back, you used to have your own modeling business, which I think is very crucial, because you gave opportunities for Hispanic and African Americans to be models, to showcase their beauty. Because a lot of times, you know, when it comes to the beauty shows, they might not show the dark skin, you know, the black features. You know, they may more or less focus on the Eurocentric features. So for you, when you were running your modeling agency, talk about the significance of giving African Americans and Hispanics the opportunity to be models.
Yeah. Well, I had started the agency. It was called. It was a nonprofit organization that I started when I was at the Christian and Cultural Arts Center. And one of the things I was looking for was, you know, Christian and Cultural Arts Center is a school for performing arts, and I was like, well, fashion and modeling is considered, you know, an art, and I, you know, I would like to call it like a fine art, but the act of modeling is like a performing art. So I did a little research and realized that there wasn't any nonprofit or Black-owned modeling agencies at the time that was in the state. You know, you have Barbizon, and that was probably pretty much the only one that everybody knew about was Barbizon. You know, so so I worked with Ms. Ray at the Christian and Cultural Arts Center, and we came up with the team organization, and she helped me start the modeling agency. And, you know, the goal was to promote, you know what I'm saying, African-American women, women of color, and Hispanic, Latino women, and just to show the whole diaspora of, you know, different shades of our people, you know. And if you look in the fashion industry, they don't have us as Black people, African Americans. We don't have a lot of representation, you know, especially for the darker shades of skin. So I wanted to use that as a platform to showcase all the different colors and the variety of our people, and try to get them more in the fashion industry here in Delaware. I was able to do a couple ads when Forman Mills first came out. I had to film my models that were in the magazines and catalogs for Macy's, for Forman Mills. So a couple of my models were able to do some contracts and get some work from those organizations and corporations. But it's definitely important that the people see us, to see the different shades of us, to see that, you know, that we can also organize and come together and have our own businesses, establish our own agencies, establish our own radio stations, establish our own media. And those are things that we had as a community back in the 50s and 60s. You know, then when, you know, of course, after the civil rights movement, everything became integrated. And due to integration, we lost a lot of our own businesses, a lot of our own industry that we had that were made from us, started by us, for us. Now a lot of it has gone, you know, to where now there's only one Black-owned radio station. You know, it should be 10 Black-owned radio stations. It should be 20, and we should have a lot more cultural art centers around. It should be a lot more boys and girls clubs around, you know, to help our people, to keep us from going, you know, getting caught up in the justice system. You know, so I was using the fashion, the modeling, and the arts as a platform to promote, you know, not only the look of our people, but to promote good role models. Because not only did I teach them how to model, but also part of the program was to be a good role model as well.
Right, definitely. That is awesome. Awesome news. You know, when you talk,
Omar,
yeah.
Showtime. I love you for having me here. I love. Right. I think this is a very informative and interesting conversation, and I hate to have to be the one to go, but as you know, I have a prior engagement. City Council's inauguration starts in about 3 minutes, and I have promised to chime in on that. So I've got to dad. But you know, my very best to you, Timeless Thomas. I'll see you back at the radio station. Thank you for acknowledging me. I appreciate that. My ego loves you. And Denise, if you want to get in touch with me, I'd love to hear from you, as well as you, Miguel.
You already know.
Enough.
Okay, yes. I got you. Okay, we'll keep in touch.
Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. Happy New Year, and continue great conversation. Peace and grace. Hey, make some intelligent noise.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Denise, you are the director of the Peer Recovery Center, which is located at 1902 Maryland Avenue, Horizon House in Delaware. When you first came, you were a regular worker and you got promoted. So talk about the Peer Recovery Center, because you do a lot in the community. I want to give you opportunities to promote the Peer Recovery Center. What are the hours of operation, and what are some of the things that the Peer Recovery Center do for the community? But
Sure.
before you explain all that, once you got your promotion, when you became the director, what was that feeling like?
So to be honest with you, I was working about 3.5 years as a peer specialist, and my supervisor had asked me to apply for the position because it was a newly built program. And they were in the construction phase, and I told her no, I didn't want the job. And she asked me like a few times to apply. I just really wasn't interested in being a boss, to be honest with you. But sometimes people see potential in you that you don't see in yourself. So I did apply for the position. I got the job, and honestly, I still think that I operate the same way I did when I was a peer specialist. I have a very good relationship with my staff. I ask them, for their opinions. They share their opinions. We work together as a team, and I absolutely love it. So basically, the drop-in center, we're open. We just started opening on Saturday, so Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to 4:30. And during COVID, we can only admit about 5 to 6 people in at a time. So we're constantly rotating, but people that are homeless, they can come in, they can take showers. We have a laundry facility. We can wash their clothes. We have clothes. We have a clothing bank. So if they need clothes to wear, we help them with that. We also get them connected with different services. If they need mental health, if they need, a primary care physician, we get them connected with services. A lot of times you're living out in the streets and you don't realize how important it is to see your primary care physician to get your physical. And we try to make sure that happens. We just provide an environment where they can come in, rest their feet. We don't have a feeding budget to where we can feed them every day, but we work very hard in getting donations in there. So they come in and they are definitely fed when they come in. We usually have some type of breakfast. We make meals there. It's a really nice environment. So I suggest, if you know anybody that's in the area that needs services, that I have mentioned, definitely send them my way. Because people that come there love to be there. We provide a very family environment. I have 6 staff, so they're all peer specialists. So if anybody needs to just talk to somebody, we're available. We will be starting groups again. That was one of our biggest strengths, is running like coping skills, life skills, recovery groups. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that, but we will be starting that again. So I'm looking forward to that. But we're very busy. We definitely provide services throughout the day for individuals that are in need. We get a lot of people that come in that have to leave, like say the Sunday breakfast mission at 6 o'clock in the morning. They come to our door about 8:30 so they can come in and rest their feet. And I love the program. I love what we stand for. I love the support that we give to our community members. And the great thing is you don't have to be a client. Anybody off the street can walk in.
Okay. And go ahead, Thomas.
I want to say a couple things. Where is your program located?
So we're right by the flea market on Maryland Avenue, 1902 Maryland Avenue.
Does somebody have to be from over that way, or can they be from anywhere?
Absolutely not. I don't care where you're from. You walk to my door, you're coming in.
Got you. Okay. Well, congratulations. That's really a good thing.
Yes. And one of the things is I also wanted to talk about is that we get a lot of ex-offenders who are released from prison that come there that are just lost. They're not connected with services. We get them connected. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop. If you come in there and you need work, if you need to see a mental health provider and get back on your medications, whatever, we get them connected. We have the workforce program that's a few doors down from us that help, especially they help ex-offenders seek employment, to get documents, like if they need to get an ID, if they need to whatever, they are there to help ex-offenders find employment, and they find pretty good jobs too. So we're there for anybody.
Good stuff. I wonder, maybe I shoot you a proposal about my book. Let me ask Omar something. So, first of all, congratulations. You became a certified life coach. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
That's real big, man. That's huge because you're coaching somebody's life. I got a life coach. That's huge, man. That is huge. You know, to be able to coach somebody, be able to give, you know, to coach somebody. That's deep, man. You know, because people who obtain a life coach are either real needy or they have plans on going someplace. You know what I mean? So that's a calling. You know what I mean? That's not no job or career.
I would like to get an opportunity to purchase your book because, you know, I've worked for over 20 years in the prison system. So I've never been incarcerated, so to speak, but I know what offenders go through when they're incarcerated. And I know what the battles that they have to deal with once they're released. And I think that book will be an excellent format for me to run groups. So I'd like your information so I can purchase one of your books so I can use that.
Absolutely. This book is a real cheat sheet. After you read this, you will be able to tell somebody that you did time. I didn't leave anything out. Nothing. So yeah.
I've heard about the book, so I'm looking forward to reading it actually.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Good stuff.
You know,
we will connect. I'll give you my information. We will definitely connect.
Right.
Actually, I would like to invite you to come down to the center.
I'll come down to the center. I'll come down to the center. I'm going to get the address from you right now. Let me get an ink pen. What is the address?
1902 Maryland Avenue. Wilmington.
Any suite number?
Omar.
Well, yeah, it's Horizon House. When we see Horizon House, it's right there. You just walk
That's
in.
cool. 1902 Maryland Avenue?
Yeah, I think it's Suite A. A as in apple.
Yes, it's right next to Walgreens.
Okay, what time should I come?
I'm open 8:30 to 4:30. I'm gonna get you my my cell phone number after the show so that you can call me before you come.
Absolutely.
So I can make sure I'm there because I definitely want to be there when you come.
Yep. Well, that's why I'm coming, just for you. 1902 Maryland Ave. Okay. And your name is Diane, you said?
Denise Rodriguez.
I'm sorry, Denise.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Denise Rodriguez.
Omar calls me D Nice, so either way, D Nice, Denise, it don't matter.
That's cool. That's cool.
You know, we talked about Mr. Harmon Carey earlier, and he was a pioneer in bringing jazz music to the city of Wilmington, or the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. He knew Mr. Clifford Brown personally. When you look at music, I mean, music is so big in the inner city. Man, I grew up in hip hop, R&B. You got jazz, you got Latin. If any one of you want to talk about the significance of what music means to the inner city, because I think it's very therapeutic. I think it's very talented. It's very creative. Thomas, I know that your background, you was a hip hop artist. They say you was the man. So anybody, just talk about the significance of music.
That is actually my origin.
Oh, okay.
Who's starting?
Well,
Miguel,
go ahead, Miguel. Then Thomas.
Yeah, I just want to talk about a little bit. You said about the music, and when you mentioned the jazz festival. I remember the jazz festival has been going on now for about maybe probably about 15 years or so, for a good while now. But I always look forward to that. I was kind of upset because they had to do it virtual this year. But every year since they started the jazz festival, I always make it a day to go up there at least one day, and usually on a Friday, you know what I'm saying, or Saturday when they have the bigger acts. But I believe that that festival has definitely changed the fabric of the city, because we always been known for some jazz, because we had Clifford Brown, Boise Lowry, that was known in Delaware. It came from Delaware, and so we had those guys that put the jazz on the scene. So when the jazz festival started, I thought that was a good way to bring the arts to the city. A lot of jazz musicians came to the city. And it just basically gave the people of Wilmington something to do, something recreational, but at the same time, something that was artistic, creative. And one thing about music is that music is a unification. You can use music to unify. You use it as a tool and as a platform to unify people. And that's one of the things that I believe that the jazz culture did for our city, is that every time we had the jazz festival, the people came together. You know,
Right.
we had the block party afterwards. People have fun, good time. You
Absolutely.
know, and the best part about it is it's usually it's peaceful. No violence, nothing happens
Right.
afterwards. Everybody get together, have a good time, and then they go home. You know, some years it was something questionable that happened, but I don't think it was related to the Clifford Brown. But
Right.
most times it's a real good event. People come together and they have a good time, and the music helps unify the people in the city, which I thought was real good. And I just hope that, you know, next year we're able to do it the right way, have a nice show. Because last year we said we wasn't able to do it. We had to do it virtual this year. So next year, hopefully we can have it, and it'll be just as big, if not bigger than what it was before. And you know that they just redid Rodney Square.
Right. Right.
So I wonder how it's going to be set up once it comes back.
Okay, Thomas.
Far as music, for me, I'm a pioneer of hip hop, not just in Delaware, but on the East Coast, period. But I am from Delaware, so me being a native Wilmingtonian, I was one of the representatives, you know, back in the early '80s with you know, Curtis Blow and the Furious Five and all those guys in New York was doing it. I was OP had a record label back then. Him and Fat Dennis Flowers, they had a record label, and I was on that. And
Godfather.
Godfather. So I started real young, and the thing that I remember the most about it, like you're talking about unity, it created a lot of parties. And parties created a lot of gathering. And back in those days, it wasn't no killing. Some fights, maybe, whatever. But it wasn't no killing. It was a lot of parties. It was a lot for people to look forward to. House parties, club parties, arena parties. Like, there's plenty of partying going on, which parallels to things to do. When you look at it now, the music is a lot different now. However, now it's a part of an evolution. Like, you could come in as an artist and end up as a movie star, or you can end up getting a deal with a clothing line, or you can end up doing a lot more things. Artist is just like a stepping stone at this point where music is at now. So I appreciate music. It definitely soothes the savage beast. You got your baby booming era, you know, a lot of people, you know what I mean, had some, you know, some times from some music. But music did my life well. And the funny part about it is I'm still connected. It's not a used to be thing for me. Anything that I used to do, I still do. And this is why I call myself Timeless Thomas. I'm timeless. I'm good with the youth. I'm good in the boardroom. I'm good everywhere. So I pride myself in that. You know, because that's very important when we dealing with, because I do believe that it's easier to build up a youth than to repair an adult. I do believe that. However, I don't want to leave nobody behind neither. As long as you still got breath in your lungs, you still got one more shot at the title. I just believe that the right people should be interacting. Like, you know, if you come in the neighborhood or whatever, you're doing outreach or whatever, and you got your suit on or your sweater or whatever, and you're trying to talk to somebody who may be on their last leg or who may be at rock bottom, they might can't identify with you. So, you know what I mean? You got to send the right outreach person in. And that's where it's just like a team, you know what I mean? Different players do different positions. But one of my sayings for people that are on the bottom, this is my encouraging saying. You might want to take it with you, you might not. People that bottom out, I always tell them that you guys are like a stock that crashed. You have no place else to go but up. You know what I'm saying? So this is the time that, you know, we would invest in you. You can't lose no more. You already lost everything. So you have no place else to go but up. And that's how they play Wall Street. You know, when them stocks crash, then people jump in, buy, rise real low, because they ain't got no place to go but up. So that's why I do like dealing with people that have bottomed out, because they're hungrier, they're more loyal, they're ready to work harder. Yeah. So
Hey, Thomas,
I don't know how I got all that off music, but I got to work on staying on topic. But yeah.
To just follow up with that, there are those who used to say that rap, hip hop promoted violence, they degraded women. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's a twofold. It does, certain raps. It's because there's different artists. You got artists like KRS-One and Public Enemy and stuff who have a message.
Right.
And then you have artists who, because what happens is this, since it has become an enterprise, since it has become a business, a conglomerate, people are selling their souls. So when somebody's cutting you a check for some serious numbers, you're willing to say whatever they asked you to say, unfortunately. So yeah, it does definitely degrade and yeah, it tears our people up. However, now on the same side of that, what I would say the defense to that, I would have to refer you to the internet, to these video games, to the movies. You know, you watch a movie, you'll see 50 killings in one movie. You'll see all kind of naked women and everything. The same stuff that's said in a rap is seen in a movie. Now, if you watch 5 or 10 TV shows in one day, it's the same thing. So that's just me, you know, trying to create a parallel or give you another way to look at it.
Right.
But yeah, because rap music kind of gets a bad rap, no pun intended.
Right.
Yeah, it does, because you look at the games that the kids are playing, the Grand Theft Auto stuff. These new video games, this is nothing like Pac-Man or Donkey Kong. These video games are very virtual. People in the games are stealing cars and going to jail and having sex inside of a video game. So you really have to monitor even what your kids are doing. And if you don't, let's say you are the parent who has to work the 2 jobs because you have to make the ends meet and keep the lights on. Ain't no telling what your kid is doing on the internet. And as soon as you put the block on their phone, it's just so easy for them to go get their friend's phone and do the same stuff. So it's definitely not just rap music that participates in degrading people.
Right. Denise, any comments about music?
One of the things that I do remember, and the Bob Marley Festival was one of the things that I liked to attend. I just remember it was just everybody went there. Like it, you know, my first experience going there, because I really didn't know too much about that type of music. And my first experience going there, I was like, oh my God, there's like everybody here, Spanish people, Black people, white people, everybody enjoyed it. And that was just like a really big thing to do. You know, once a year you would see that Bob Marley Festival.
Right.
But you know, music has been a big part of my life. You know, growing up, if you remember me saying, I was into the hip hop, the break dancing. I used to get in trouble because I'd be on the street corners break dancing with the guys, and my mom would find out. And grew up in a really strict Catholic family, so they weren't having all that. But you know, and I don't know if you remember, my nephew AJ Melendez had an experience with American Idol Juniors, and you know, wow. Yeah, that was quite a few years ago. So they only had the one spinoff, and it was I think kids from like 12 to 16 or 17 that were on the show. So, you know, our family has always kind of been a part of, you know, music and dance. I really do miss a lot of the things that we used to do growing up. You know, I was part of theater when I was growing up. We would do local plays, musicals, that kind of thing. And I really do miss that.
Right. You know, when you look at our communities, there was always a call for freedom, justice, and equality. If you look at the 60s, you had the Civil Rights Movement, you had the Black Power Movement. Today, you got the Black Lives Matter movement. I want to ask anyone you want to comment. What are your thoughts on community activism? What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement in terms of getting freedom and justice and equality for the African American and Hispanic communities? Anybody wants to go, they can.
If I could touch on that, I'd like to just say a few things about that. This past year and you know, last year, it's been a lot more police killings of unarmed or innocent Black men that's been happening, you know, and you know, with all this increased racial tension, and it's becoming more in the forefront. You know, nowadays the discussion has came back around, you know, given that, you know, the outgoing president, ever since he became in office, racial tensions has increased, you know. So it's going to continue, you know, hopefully we could, you know, learn how to, you know, since it's been so exposed now, you know, we need to start learning how to unify, you know, because, you know, without the unification, things are going to continue to happen. And that's the reason why a lot of it has been happening. If we were to unify as a people and come together, then a lot of it, I ain't say it would disappear, but it would definitely start to go down. And, you know, unifying would change so much of the direction of our culture, you know, because if we could get rid of the systemic racism and get rid of all the disparities in our justice system, and we were to come together, we would be a strong political force, a strong financial force. We could demand change in our communities, in our cities, if we was to come together as, you know, saying unified as one. You know, we had the Black Panther Party in the 60s and 70s, and that got dismantled. And now in the 2000s, 2019, 2020, 2021, it gave rise to a lot of new movements that's been going on, you know, and the Black Lives Matter movement has you know, that it was formulated because of the police brutality against our people, you know, so that's why it was formulated. And now it became bigger, it became international. And not only are they focusing on Black Lives Matter, but they also start to encompass a lot more into the movement, you know, different types of, you know, Black people, and getting more into the LGBTQ community as well, you know. So it's starting to encompass more than just Black lives, you know, so it's starting to become a little bit more universal. In my opinion, I think they should start to steer it back and just focus just on our issues. You know what I'm saying? It seems that the movement has been kind of, in my opinion, has been kind of hijacked. It was started by Black people, and it should continue to be run by Black people, and it should always maintain that purpose for our issues. You know what I'm saying? And it should be something that's going to unify us together. You know, when you go to these Black Lives Matters rallies and you go to the protests, you see more other ethnicities than you see of our own people.
Yeah.
You see the other ethnicities going harder. You know, the white people out there, Latinos out there, the Chinese out there. It should be majority us, not them. You know, so in my opinion, I believe that, you know, it's been kind of hijacked some, but we have to bring it back. We got to bring it back to the focus to our people, to our issues, and let it continue to be run and led by us primarily. You know, we let too many hands in. The mission statement starts to go a little more to the left versus being straight and forward for our people. You know, but there's other organizations that's been happening. Other organizations coming up to help unite us.
Okay.
Can I tag in?
Yeah, sure.
I agree with some of the stuff that you were saying. You were on point. The thing is, with the Black Lives Matter movement, to me, it's very watered down, you know. And I just want to piggyback off a couple of topics that you said. You were saying about, you know, it's a lot more police killings this year, but actually they have been killing us since the slave ship. Yeah. It's no less or more. They've been killing us. What it is their social media, and they're making it visual. And the reason why they're doing that is to Willie Lynch your mind. They're instilling fear in you. This is why you always get it in your DM, your inbox. It's on all the Instagram. It's everywhere. Somebody sends it to you because they want to perpetuate that fear. See, this is why they kill you on camera, because they know it's going to be 1 million views by tomorrow. It's going to go viral. So now everybody's scared of the Blue Klux Klan. And with that fear, they can keep their foot on our neck. Now, the people marching and all of that stuff, that bothers me, because when we do have the momentum, we don't do anything with it. When the George Floyd situation happened and the whole world came together, white, black, old, young, rich, poor, Spanish, at that point, we were supposed to demand something. We were supposed to say, look, give us this or else that. We didn't do nothing. We just made a whole bunch of trouble, right? We bailed a lot of businesses out. You know, a lot of businesses that were failing anyway jumped right in and robbed their self, broke their own windows and stole their own merchandise so they can cash out on the insurance. And it was just a big catastrophe that amounted to nothing. So, like you say, then, you know, the LBG and all them kind of people jumped in and coattailed and all of that. A lot of things are by design. You have to remember, everything that glitters is not gold.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you also must be mindful that the world is changing. It's a new world order. So a lot of people, you'll hear somebody say this, you'll hear somebody say, okay, so, you know, after this COVID thing, when things go back to how they're going to be and how they used to be, it's not going back. It's moving frontwards. It's moving frontwards because you're dealing with a people that are 50 to 100 years ahead of us. These are plans that their forefathers have made. These are plans that Caesar Rodney and William Penn and George Washington, them dudes grafted up these plans when they stole all the lessons and stuff. This is a evolution from their mission. So you figured, okay, let me skip back to what she's talking about, the Black Lives Matter. They actually dumbed us all the way down to, we used to be ready to go to war. Now they have us where we're supposed to be soldiers. They have our frontline people talking about hands up, don't shoot. You killing the bleep out of us, and you got all us talking about hands up, don't shoot. And that's like the cool slogan, hands up, don't shoot. You actually have people that are supposed to be firing back talking about pull your camera out. I don't know anybody who could kill somebody with a camera unless you beat them with a big camera, but that's not a weapon. That's not going to defend you. So they really, really, you know, hoodwinked us real good with the trickery. Yes. And so you have to understand illusion before you put emotion into it. My opinion. This could be my stuff, but I'm one of them people because I understand that it's water in the room right now that you can't see. Until you pull a soda out the refrigerator and you put it on the table and those sweat beads beat up around the can and then your table's wet. That water didn't come from inside the can. You see what I'm saying? So I know that there's water in here, but you can't see it. So sometimes you got to do the knowledge, got to go a little bit further. Your own eyes will deceive you. You know, you look up in the air and it looks blue, right? So you get up there in the airplane and it's gray, it's cloudy. You look at the ocean, it looks blue, it looks green till you pull that cup of water out of there and it's clear with debris. So you got to do the knowledge. But the Black Lives Matter movement to me is whatever. Yeah, we need what I do like though. You know what I did like though? What you were saying about all the other races were in there. I love the fact, right, that this generation, our babies, got a whole bunch of white girls and stuff. It's a lot of mixed kids. The old Ku Klux Klan, boy, they are mad. They turn over in their grave. They are mad at that. It's a whole bunch of mixed babies. I do like that. You know what I mean? This generation, they're not prejudiced. They all together, and I'm all right with that. You know what I mean? I'm all right with that part because they got their forefathers hot. You know what I'm saying? Those Nazis and all them guys. But anyway, that's just my stuff.
Okay, Denise, you got anything on community activism?
Listen, I'm all for, you know, stand up for what you think is right. I'm all for, you know, the Black Lives Matter or whatever forums. But, you know, the only issue that I do have is that when the time comes for you to really have a voice, to go out and vote, to go to a city council meeting, to you know, talk about what it is that you're looking for, like people aren't showing up. But when it came to the riots and it came to, you know, busting up businesses, people were there. So my thing is that you got to follow through. If you're going to be a part of a movement, you have to follow through from beginning to end and not just when it's chaos, because, you know, there has to be an agenda to the chaos. There has to be a method to the madness, and you can't just fall back or fall into when it suits you. I think you need to follow through. If you're going to be a part of a movement and say that you're part of the movement, you need to follow through.
Okay, so we're about to close out going so fast in this deep conversation. So I want to give each and one of you opportunity to just maybe between a minute and a half and 2 minutes, any closing comments. And if you want to leave your information about your business or your book or whatever, feel free to do so. Let's start off with Denise.
Well, so again, my name is Denise Rodriguez, and I'd like to say that, you know, I am proud that I am a born and bred Delawarean. I grew up in Wilmington. There's a lot of positive things that are still happening in Wilmington. I'm not going to say everything's negative. I have a lot of good memories growing up on the West Side. And, you know, I have always said that I was going to give back to my community when I was able to. And I've worked in my community for well over, I don't know, 30 years. Right now, I'm running a drop-in center at Horizon House. I'm the director at the drop-in center. We are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 as well. Oh, and on Saturday, we just started opening as well. The address 1902 Maryland Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19805. If you want information, you can always go through Omar. He can get you connected with me. But I'm gonna tell you that that center is there for people to utilize our services. You're homeless, you need to come in and, you know, utilize our showers, come through. We also have peer specialists that are there to help you, to get you connected with services. Whatever it is that you need or whatever, we will definitely get you connected. And I want to thank Omar for inviting me on his show. As always, I love working with Omar. We've worked together for quite a few years, and I just want to thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, no problem.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thomas?
I have to first and foremost thank you very much, brother Showtime. This means a lot to me. I was upset that I missed it last time, but a brother of your caliber to invite me to such a platform lets me know that I'm moving in the right direction. It lets me know that maybe I possibly arrived, because I really am striving. You know what I mean? I'm rough around the edges, but again, it takes a team. Somebody got to be rough around the edges. Maybe I can go and deal with the rough around the edges people, you know? So I definitely appreciate you paying attention to me, because like energy attracts. So this is the energy that I'm putting out in the universe anyway. I appreciate everybody on the platform. What I really need to let y'all know is that I'm very connected to a lot of people, and I'm a action person. I talk too, but I'm like, Muhammad Ali's one of my role models. He's a talker, but he's a doer. He'll really get you. That's me too. I talk that talk, but I really do walk the walk. So I'm Action Jackson. My book is out. It's redemption. It's prison reform. I'm pushing the book majorly. I believe that if anybody has an idea where it can go, what organization it should be in or whatever, that's where I'm trying to put it at. You know what I mean? I'm trying to sell it to I'm trying to, you know, give it to the criminal justice people, students and stuff in different colleges and stuff like that. I'm trying to sell it in bulk. I want organizations to comp it 500 at a time, whatever. I'll split money, whatever I'll give money with. But yeah, so the book is my major thing right now. Also be mindful that I do have the radio station. If you need me to advertise something, talk about something, whatever the case may be, I'm here. I do want to leave my number. Denise, I would like to get your number real quick if I could. You got a problem saying it out loud or something?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a problem saying it.
Well, could I get it?
302.
Okay.
I'm giving it to you. Ready?
Yep.
302-613-8535.
Is it an extension?
Did you get it?
Yeah, is there an extension to that?
That's a
No,
cell
cell
number, right?
phone.
Okay, cool. All right.
That's my cell.
And then Miguel, I need to get with you as well, because I'm trying to put some programs together too. It seems like you know some stuff. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
Christiana Cultural Center? Is that still around?
Yeah, Christiana Cultural Center. Yeah, it's right there on Market Street Mall. On 7.
Oh, they moved. Were they on the east side before? Weren't they on Spruce Street?
Moved. Yeah,
Okay.
they moved. They
Okay.
moved probably in like 95 or something like that. In the 90s, they moved over there.
Okay, shows you what I know. What's your number, Miguel?
Yo, 302-765-8759.
All right, and then
Yeah.
you know, me and you dialogue on the Facebook tip,
Right,
but I
right.
just want to put my number out there for y'all, and again, thank you everybody. My number is, if anybody wants it, my number is 202-798-9053. I go by either Timeless Thomas or Big D's. Again, my number is 202-798-9053.
Okay,
All right,
Big
thank
Deezy,
you.
when are you on the radio station? And is your book online? Can people order through Amazon?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can also I'll leave the links to my and so you can get it anywhere, anywhere where you can get a book, you can get it. But
Okay.
I mean, of course, I would like you to buy it from my website. But yeah, you can get it on Amazon. That's cool. I'm on the radio Saturdays at 12 noon. Saturdays at 12 noon.
Okay.
And my Facebook is Timeless Timeless. So if you really want to know anything about the book or whatever, you can DM me. Or like you said, you can go on Amazon or, anywhere where you can get a book. But yeah.
Okay.